All right. So, yeah, as Taylor said, I'm the local regional sales manager. As you can see here, we've got a pretty good team in the Indiana, Ohio areas. Brett Durham is also on here with us. Brett is our newest RFM, actually out of same kind of footprint. I'm up in Monroe. He's over in the Lebanon area. So I cover predominantly Southwest Ohio, Northern Kentucky. I go up to probably about Sydney. Brett, we do have a vacancy in the Indiana area right now. So Brett is actually covering Indiana for us for the time being, probably for a couple more weeks since we have somebody in place there. But Brett, I'll give you a minute or so to kind of introduce yourself as well.
No, appreciate it, Larry. Like you mentioned, name's Brett Durham. I've been with the company for about 2 months. Came from an integrator prior to that, so I've got some experience with working with JCI and Niscaya prior to the Stanley acquisition. So my main role when I was brought on is to help support, those integrators. Not sure my full list of, targets to hit just yet with the change and me shifting over to Indiana for the immediate. So very well maybe working with you guys as well. But my role is to support Larry and our counterpart in Indianapolis so that they can focus on the work they need to. I can take some of the load off their shoulders. So, but again, still part of the overall team to support whoever needs assistance from the Axis team.
Yep, definitely it's a team. As you can see on the left-hand side, we've got a local engineer. We've got an inside salesperson, Chris Jones, which I'm assuming a lot of people are probably familiar with. Chris has been with Axis for 13, 14 years. We do have a technical trainer assigned to us. We've got a marketing person. And then, of course, you see some of the names of the reps throughout. We've got 4 reps in Ohio, and we'll have 1 hopefully here in the next couple of weeks back in Indiana. So, and also management below. So we do have an entire team behind IPS. So really today I probably have too many topics, but I'd rather do that and just kind of touch base a little bit on each one. But I want to really go through what's kind of the newest stuff with Axis, not necessarily just products, but what is Axis doing? Because the video surveillance market, the technology is just moving so quickly, as anybody knows. So just wanted to hit a few different topics, chipset and technologies, a little bit on analytics, vehicle access control, body-worn solutions, IP audio, and then, of course, our VMS with integrated access control. So, I was talking to Brett earlier, and probably 5 of these 6 topics could be an hour or 2-hour just discussion or webinar. So, like Taylor said, feel free. If for some reason we don't get all the way through these topics, that's okay. Feel free to ask questions. The one thing I will say is if you want to do a deeper dive on anything, or maybe it's something off these topics, feel free to reach out to your local IPS rep, and we'll get together and we can do an on-site meeting. We could do it virtually. If you want to see demos of any of the products or solutions, we can do that as well, both on-site or virtually. So with that said, I will just dive right in. I always like to preface any presentation out with Axis. I don't know how much everyone knows about Axis. Axis was founded in basically 1984. We were a print server company back then. 96, we actually developed the world's first IP network camera. And since then, it's just been one technology after another. One of the things we did early on is we said, you know what, we're going to develop our own chipset. So we design and manufacture our own chipset, which really gives us control of not only quality, but the logistics and being able to get chips. So maybe I think we're still all at a mercy of a centralized semiconductor company, but at the same rate, it definitely gives us a lot of control, especially with image quality. So just a couple terms, Light Finder 2.0, just think color and very low light. Forensic WDR, wide dynamic range, taking challenging light situations, even in amount, so you can see the entire scene and not just parts of it. So that's very important. So forensic. These basically show up on our newest version 7 chipset in an IR range, so better light sensitivity, better details, depth, the whole bit. So I talked about us building our own chipset. It is the ARPEC, as you see the title of the slide. Stands for Access Real-Time Processing and Coding Chipset. We're on version 7, which is probably the largest jump for us in image quality. So we're constantly trying to push the envelope. Number 8, I think, is coming right around the bend. If I had to guess, it's probably early next year. I think it's going to focus more on the ability to process analytics and all that kind of good stuff, which we'll talk a little bit about that as well. Cybersecurity is probably the cornerstone, probably what we try to make sure we build into anything and everything that we produce, whether it's software, hardware, whatever it might be. With the version 7 chipset, signed firmware, secure boot, trusted platform module, just know those are all really big cybersecurity measures to prevent, the edge device in this case from being hacked. Zipstream, I always like to talk about Zipstream as well. It is access compression codec. So I think everybody's pretty familiar with probably H.264, H.265, and those are good. With the Access Zipstream, we can actually compress video 50% or more. So I've done a couple of like storage and bandwidth calculations for customers, and I use Zipstream, and it's a couple of them shot it back to me and said these calculations can't be right, type of thing. But that's the power of Zipstream. So it really compresses video, and then when you put that alongside H.264 or 265, now you're talking 60+% compression. So talked about Light Finder. I like to show I like to show real world examples. Look in the lower left here, and it says human eye perception. I don't know how they knew it was human eye perception, but at any rate, what you see there is it's very dark. So just know this is probably 10, 12, maybe even 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. But with Light Finder on the newest chipset, the 2.0, you can see how it really just brightens it up, gives it great color. IR is good, but when you can get color in low light, you get more forensic details, which gives you a better accuracy in trying to pinpoint who somebody might be or what something might be. So wide dynamic range, of course, is just got even better on version 7. You can kind of see maybe with WDR turned off, and right here it shows you, you've got a really lit up background, dark foreground, and how it mitigates that to give you a complete picture with detail. Same thing here, you can actually see out through the flaps. So any questions on any of that? Like I said, I always like to kind of lay that groundwork with that as we kind of go further. Just some of the cornerstones of how we get to where we go.
Yeah, this is Robert with Premier Health. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, how are you doing, Robert?
Good. So, question for you. So, the chipset, the 7 chipset, is that going to be across all the new Access cameras or certain ones, or?
Great question. So, it's not in all cameras. In a lot of the P's and Q's you see, it is, even in some M's. So, some of our cameras are older and may still have like the version 6 or the version 5. The version 7, we brought that out, I want to say right in mid 2019. So to answer your question, not in all of them, but if you ever have a question, maybe you want to lean towards that better image quality and capabilities, which you'll see some capabilities coming. Let IPS know, let myself know, and we'll make sure you know which has got the latest and greatest chipset. That answer your question?
Yes.
Good, cool. Anyone else? Cool, yeah, jump right in. Anybody have any questions? Feel free. So another big topic right now is analytics. That seems like that's all we've talked about internally lately, as well as you see it. A lot of customers want to be able to utilize the camera's basically computer on the edge. So how can I use my existing infrastructure to give me better results or more predictive results, or be more proactive. So the challenges right now in the industry, there's not too many companies that has that little room with your monitors and they're driving a PTZ, with a dedicated guy. Just not really very practical anymore. Although it still does happen to some degree. Customers want to be notified. They want to be more proactive. If something happens, they want to be notified versus maybe finding out something happened and then going through video to figure out what it was that happened and try to identify. So proactiveness is huge. With pixel based, I mean, you start talking about weather, different seasons, insects, varying light conditions can all play into making it challenging for being able to capture the right video that you need. So, and then of course you've got every installation is unique. So Axis is a very open company, probably one of the most, if not the most open companies. And what's that mean is that we try to work with, a lot of software manufacturers out there, whether it's VMS or it's analytics, work with other hardware manufacturers. We know that maybe we don't have the best of this, but you like this that we make, but you want to use somebody else for something else to go along with it. Hey, that's where we try to be open. So we are ONVIF, which stands for Open Network Video Interface Forum. I think I might be off there, but so we're really open. Also, another thing that we kind of hang our hat on is trying to do as much at the camera as possible. So we have made some changes. Going along with talking about the ARPEX 7 chipset, we're the only manufacturer now to start manufacturing cameras with a secondary chipset that is solely for intense processing analytics. So we call it our deep learning processing unit. So you could have a camera like we just talked about a minute ago with the ARPEX 7, and it also may have the DLPU, deep learning processing unit chipset on the side of it. So what we're trying to do is, with these analytics that are coming out, I mean, it really takes a lot of processing power. I know, there's a couple of companies where you may have several servers, in the, back in the server room dedicated to running these analytics. What we're doing now and what we're seeing, we're working with 12 or 15 partners right now on this new chipset. We're able to run facial recognition. I know it's controversial right now, but that requires some power. License plate, even some of these really intense applications, we're cutting server loads in the back by half. So, so it's a very very nice additive. I think you're going to see this chipset go on all of our cameras, to be honest with you. So, when I talk about edge, whether it's cloud or on-prem, you've got server form factors. It can be large. That higher cost, not as green. But when you're doing something on the edge, now you've got very low power, slower cost, reduced latency, and it's a greener type of an application. I know that's important nowadays. So yeah. So what we're trying to do is run as much as we can on the edge to help those customers to be able to maximize the money they spend on a video surveillance system, because let's face it, I mean, it's not just about video with these end devices anymore. I mean, there's so many capabilities out there. So a lot of acronyms, you don't have to worry about it. What I really wanted to say with this slide is, we're coming from a pixel-based approach, the entire industry, where pixel, it changes, there's motion, or it's a line that was crossed or something of that sort. So pixel change gives an alert. Now we're looking at machine learning and deep learning. So now we're starting to look at objects versus a pixel. So looking at pixel, for those of you that don't know, Axis cameras 7.0 firmware and above, you can actually download the Guard suite of analytics for free. These are pixel based. So there's Fence Guard, which is basically cross-line detection. So you set up a line and an arrow. If somebody crosses that line from that particular direction, you get an alarm alert. Motion guard. So this is, you get video motion detection on the camera itself. This is just a little more advanced version. Loitering guard I really like because you can draw a box or some sort of polygon and say, you know what, there may be somebody passed through here, but they shouldn't be standing there for more than 15 seconds or whatever time you set. And if they do, as you see this guy in the red, he's alarmed, just been standing there. So think of it maybe as it's a parking lot after hours. Maybe somebody pulls in, turns around. But if somebody's there for 30 seconds, maybe a minute, 2 minutes, whatever it might be, they're probably up to no good. So, so that pixel based. So what we're seeing now is machine learning and deep learning. So the deep learning piece is incorporated with this new chipset that we are putting in cameras. So machine learning is really good. So it can detect a person in a vehicle. So, and you see in this example here, it gets pretty challenged if you cover up, the object in some form or fashion. So the X's basically say, you know what, it probably didn't catch it. But you see if the person's just by himself or a car is by himself, it's going to catch it. Maybe they're leaning down, it's not going to pick it up as a person. With the deep learning processing unit, you can see we've got green check marks all around. So it can pick up whether somebody's leaning down, kneeling, either somewhat blocked by a sign or piece of furniture, whatever it might be. So the ARPEX7 chipset in itself is machine learning. So you can get with ARPEX7 cameras the ability to tell between a person and a vehicle. The deep learning processing unit is a whole new level. So let's go to here. So deep learning processing, I can tell the difference between a motorcycle, I can tell the difference between a car, bus, or in this case, a little box truck, but buses. And that's, you can create action rules and all that, which is cool. Let's say you've got a place where, what, trucks shouldn't be, or maybe people shouldn't be because it's a lot of cars and traffic. You can create action rules on that. But what it does is it enables us to bring to our, the partners that do these third-party analytics, the ability to really get deep within analytics. So, and to take advantage of the processing power. So just looking right now, we have 2 cameras that are incorporated with this new chipset. I would say we'll probably have 10 to 12 by the end of the year, including a fisheye. And going back to what we were kind of talking about earlier, it'll be an M's, P's, and Q's. So M's, P's, and Q's are kind of our good, better, best line. So we're going to go full bore with this new chipset. So like I said, I think the ultimate goal is to have it in every camera that we make. So I would say over the next couple of years. On the chipset or anything of that sort, I know we keep talking about chips, but hopefully everybody ate lunch. So, I mean, just kind of keeping in hand with talking about analytics and software, a couple of months ago, maybe not even a couple of months, we came out with the license plate verifier. Brett, did you want to talk to the license plate verifier?
Sure, can. Like Larry said, it's kind of this level is kind of new to us and just launched recently. So it kind of gives you the challenge that we've always had is everybody wants the license plate recognition. And we try to do everything with one piece. You want to see the whole parking lot, but they also want to see the license plate. And the challenges run into your pixels on density aren't quite where we need it to be. So with the new setup that they have some cameras that are dedicated solely for the license plate setup. And now there's the software on the back end that they've spent many, many months testing all the different license plates from all the different states, running through to make sure that you can tell it's a license plate versus just a decorative plate. So they put a lot of time and energy into the software to be able to recognize your license plates. So like the slide says, it's less than 1 second recognition, can configure it across time and stored events, allows block lists, so like up to 10,000 license plate per list. So it gives you a lot of flexibilities that we just didn't have available to us prior. it's capable of reading license plates at moving speeds, roughly 45 miles an hour. So you can have them in a variety of different applications, street side, just keeping tabs of traffic that's going through, looking for hot list items. You can use it for access control. So if you have a situation where they want to be able to control access to a garage or a parking lot, but maybe a card reader isn't as convenient, or you have the staff that just wanted to be able to drive up to it, you can use the camera and license plate recognition to be a piece of that program now. So there's a lot of flexibilities that are coming into the system that are just wish list items before. So it's nice to see the advances. And this is just touching base on the free flowing and slow moving traffic capabilities, up to roughly 45 mile an hour. It'll capture that data and use that output as you desire. There's a lot of variety of what that trigger can bring to the equation. So,
So yeah, we do have, so this is just the software that you could purchase from Axis. We also work with a ton of different manufacturers of analytics. So we have a particular camera that'll read a license plate up to 81 miles an hour. However, our software in this case is more towards that slower speed. So it becomes an option if a customer wants to do that. So we do have a couple of kits that include the camera and the software, or you can just buy, you can purchase the software separately. But it's really cool on the vehicle access control piece, being able to block somebody. So if maybe just an employee was let go or left and you want to restrict their access, you can put them on a block list and therefore it'll show up and won't let them in. So it's a lot of nice capabilities. I've seen it, in action. It's pretty slick. It will timestamp, or not timestamp, but stamp the license plate itself on the video. So that's pretty cool. And then you can do some searches and such on it. So I know, LPR has become pretty big. So I get a couple questions a week on that.
Larry, Brett, that's pretty neat stuff with the LPR. Are you seeing it in certain applications or any kind of trend in types of industries or anything like that?
I'm seeing it everywhere. It seems like anywhere where you have a choke point, maybe it's just a commercial business, maybe it's a factory, it's logistics. So I'm starting to see it in a lot more places I didn't see it before. So
Okay.
of course, we see it a lot too with municipalities and traffic management and that kind of stuff. But it's really expanded out quite a ways.
Yeah, the improvement of the technology on the edge has really opened up the avenues of creativity on what to do with it. The access control piece is what I'm seeing a lot of interest in the most. Just for that flexibility of folks being able to drive up to help maintain that traffic flow a little better than waiting to pull up to the reader, somebody reach out, dig their credentials out of their, cubby on their armrest, what have you. So those type of things. I had another client that was using it just to monitor an information and check Dropbox, so that if any questions would arise, they just had that historic data of who drove up to these areas. They weren't using it actively. It was more of a, reactive if anything would present, but they had that data. So we're seeing a lot more, atypical uses than we had seen in the past.
And I'm assuming you're able to then search database, right? We want to see anytime, ABC 123 came in.
Yep.
Correct.
Yep. Can. And, anything you see from us, I always encourage, anyone to, hey, try it out. Try it out before you buy. Just make sure it fits all of your expectations. This is a really nice, software. Like I said, it's limited. I think there are other softwares out there that are a lot more expensive that are going to give you up to 120 miles an hour or whatever, maybe more for, highway traffic or something of that sort. But, I don't know, about everyone here, but we've seen so many. I've seen a lot of companies with break-ins to cars and such in parking lots. And so I think this is becoming more and more of a common thing. They want to be able to catch a license plate or whatever when it comes in. So yeah, it's a good question. Great question. Any other questions? All right. I don't know if this apply for everybody, but this is a newer product set for us. Excuse me. That we came out with mid last year. So body worn. The one thing I will say is, it's uh, it can be used in a lot of different areas. We've seen it, and we'll talk about that here shortly. But we've seen it not just in law enforcement or security type applications, but I mean, it could be retail, or there's a lot of different use cases for it. So everything that's out there right now, I don't think anything's bad. I mean, I think there's some really good stuff out there. City of Cincinnati uses a company by the name of Axon. Um, Good company. They're formerly Taser, so they've been in the industry forever. But really, a lot of what's out there, the technology is pretty limited. Cost is really very high. Contracts are commonplace in what's out there right now. So long-term contracts. The biggie is the close-off system. Like I mentioned earlier, Axis wants to be open. So when we started working on, I think, the body worn, gosh, probably 4+ years ago, we said, you know what, if we're going to do it, we're going to make it open. We're not going to make it a closed system, which forces the customer to use every little piece of what we sell, because there are other options out there. So what we said is, okay, we're going to open it up. So, like it or not, we did. But I talked about just some different use cases, everything from banking. I know corrections has been a big one for us. We've seen a lot of that. Even stadiums, venues, healthcare. So really, it's kind of unlimited. It's funny because I get a couple questions every year about somebody from a warehouse will call, or and ask, hey, do you guys have a solution for like a tow motor? I want to see when these guys hit the racks and everything else. And up till now, it was really you had to really just put a camera and somehow convert that power over to the battery of the tow motor. But now you got it's basically a mobile camera that you can use, so it's pretty slick. Some of the advantages, what's out there right now is anywhere from, I think, 12 to 14 months warranty. So they're not warranted very long. We said, you know what, we do 3-year, which actually all of our cameras and most all of our products now are 5 years. So we've got a 3-year warranty on this. We feel pretty good about it. We've done a lot of really stress testing on it and everything else. Once again, we said, if we're going to do it, it's going to be cyber secure and it's going to be really tight. So that was a biggie. Open platform. So what do I mean by open platform? I'm sure folks out there use maybe Milestone or Genetech or Exact or something of that sort. What we said? You know what? If you want to buy our hardware, go ahead and use your own VMS. So bring your own VMS with you. So we are just trying to make it that much easier for everyone to take the body worn to a new level. Go through this. You see the camera, the controller, the docking stations. We've got mounts. Do have a couple little accessories here. So I think you've probably seen this maybe on TV on SWAT. On the SWAT team, they have it maybe on their helmet or their shoulder. So that's an option. We also have this. So I talked about different use cases. The police, a police officer, they want you to see this body worn camera here, so that way, there's potentially being recorded and maybe it helps steer behavior. So what we have now, we came out with this little mini cube sensor. So this plugs into the body worn camera, and you put the body worn camera maybe by your shirt, pocket, something of that sort. I think it has some restrictions on pocket. It doesn't want to block it or something, but this is just a little camera. So think of maybe even education, hospitals, where you don't want to be so overt in the camera, even though the camera's small, but you don't want to scare people off or make them feel like they're being watched. This little dude here is really cool. This one just came out, I think, like 2 weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken. The system itself, it's basically camera, goes back to a docking station. This is the system controller. I don't want to confuse that with storage. This is where the body worn cameras are set up. And then it goes back to your content destination. Maybe you want to use cloud. Maybe you want to use your on-prem VMS or servers. You can do that. So along with this, I talk about cybersecurity. So it's encrypted here, it's encrypted here, encrypted here. I mean, we're encrypting at every stop point. So it's so that there's less chance that the evidence in this case would be messed with. So very scalable. So each one of these controllers actually will accept up to 40 cameras, which would be like 5 docking stations. So really becomes a nice, affordable solution. Camera itself, 720, 1080p. Does have a 64 gig card inside. You cannot get to that card unless you bust the camera open, but then you've probably voided the warranty. So the really cool thing is you can run that camera for 12 hours. Battery life is going to give you, it's going to go all the way through 12 hours at 1080p. If you go to 720p, you can get 17 hours. So IP67, very tough, rugged. It's got the little dual mics here, as you see on each side of the camera. Very light, less than 6 ounces. Once again, 3-year warranty. The system controller itself, like I said, it's the intelligent piece of the system in that you set all of your body worn cameras up here. So you can actually, I'll go to the next slide here. This is the interface for the GUI. So look, you could set up, let's say maybe you had 10 of these, and each one of them really should be all set up the same. You can set up a user profile, and then just it makes it that much easier to assign the camera to the user. So pre-buffer, you can go back to 90 seconds, I think, on the pre-buffer. With police or something of that sort, they may not think to hit their camera right away, so they've got that, they start to do something or forget to hit it, maybe it's 30, 60 seconds later, they can hit it, and it will take the video back 90 seconds or whatever you set it up as. Just a couple of notes I like to make. Body-worn cameras are not your typical Axis camera image quality. Why is that? Because, obviously this is built more for, security, whether it's police, fire, whatever it might be. So the last thing we want is an officer to be involved in something. The video goes to court, and he's got one of the Axis ARTPEX 7, awesome image quality chipset cameras, on his body worn, and he starts getting questioned of, well, why didn't you see that back here? You should have saw this was coming, or something of that sort. We wanted to make it as close to the human eye as possible. So that way, there was no way you could have saw this or that. So similarly with darkness, you can see the difference between an ARTPEX 7 camera and the body worn camera. So it's trying to mimic the human eye. Any questions on body worn? I know it's kind of a niche, but it really, I've had people just use it as a mobile camera to set up somewhere if they just wanted temporary surveillance. And like I said, any of these topics, let Brett or I know, or go to your IPS folks, and we'll set something up and get you a little deeper dive.
Larry, on the body worn, it seems like the longtime user of that is the law enforcement marketplace. Is your solution possibly a fit for that? I don't know enough about that.
That's a great question, because obviously the other guys out there have had a pretty good head start. We don't fit. We've sold into law enforcement, but there are some things like in-car. They have in-car cameras that they can pull up, and Wi-Fi it offloads the video. We're not there yet, so we're more.
Okay.
It's like whenever we develop something, we kind of develop it in kind of steps, and just so I think we're going to get there. But right now, I think it fits some law enforcement. Does it fit the city of Cincinnati? Maybe not.
Sure. Okay.
That's why I like it for other, whether it's maybe it's healthcare, retail, banking, whatever it might be, for that type of thing. So Correction, I said earlier, has been a huge one for us because it just seems to really fit. And we've got, you've got Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, I think a gyrometer on board. We've kind of released some of that stuff in steps with firmware upgrades.
Mhm.
So now we're starting to see we actually have a little sensor for law enforcement that if they pull their trigger, it automatically, starts the camera. Let's say we've got if officer's down, they fall down, camera automatically starts and it's got that pre-buffer. So that answer question?
Yeah. Is it recording locally to the device?
It is.
Okay. Okay.
But right now, there's no ability to see it live. So that's another one too that some of the bigger law enforcement agencies want to be able to have.
Mhm.
So I mean, it's everybody I've shown it to loves the hardware and they love the interface. They love the ability to be able to use their own VMS or just have that control. But I know just the integrations, which we'll get there. It just take a little bit of time. I think we're just kind of stepping in and just getting it out there first. So
Okay.
Great
Great.
question.
Thanks.
Speakers. So IP audio has become pretty big. As you can see here, Axis does have a pretty decent portfolio of network speakers. These are all IP devices. It's powered. Basically, you put an RJ45 patch cord in there, you run it back to a switch. The old analog days, you had amplifiers and all that kind of good stuff. You had to worry about power. And the one thing with Axis network speakers or IP speakers, they're home runs. So basically, if you have multiple horns, you're going to home run those back to your switch versus the old analog days where you might daisy chain. So you can see with this portfolio here, we've got a horn, a little mini speaker, cabinet speaker, as well as a recessed speaker. The recessed speaker, of course, you'd see in a drop ceiling or somewhere indoors. The cabinet speaker, it can be used indoors and outdoors. However, from a temperature perspective, it's great. Moisture, I would keep it kind of out of moisture. So it's able to withstand temperatures, just not the moisture. And then the horn here is actually it's I think it's IP66, 67. So right there it is, IP66 and 67, but fully outdoors. And then the C1410, I love the speaker. It's about, I don't know, maybe 6 inches diameter. Surface mount, but you can kind of, if you see this up here, that's a PIR. So you can use that almost as a quasi intrusion. So if you've got maybe somebody's got a small retail store, or maybe there's somewhere in a within a building where somebody shouldn't be, you can put this speaker up, not have to have really a camera if you don't want it, and use it. Motion's tripped and it plays a pre-recorded message. So the beauty of the beauty of the IP speakers is that you can do it live, pre-recorded. What's really cool is a firmware upgrade we just came out with, I think about 6 weeks ago. You have two-way audio. It's half duplex. So it's kind of like a walkie-talkie. One person talks, the other person talks. But you got the ability with the speakers now to be able to, talk back and forth with somebody, kind of like you had a network intercom or something set up. So, but yeah, I really love that little speaker there, and it's really cost effective and cost efficient too. So, any questions on just the portfolio? Okay. Where do we see it used? So, obviously, we see it used. Maybe you pair it with a camera. So, a camera maybe detects motion, tells the speaker to play a pre-recorded message. So it adds that extra layer of overall security. So now you've got not only some video, but you have an audio deterrent. So let's say let's go back to that parking lot that's nobody should be in. It's after hours. Camera catches motion. It'll tell the speaker. The speaker would play a pre-programmed message that maybe says, "You're trespassing. The law enforcement has been called. Please exit the area." Will that stop everybody? No, but if it stops 50% of the people, might make it worth it. So, like I said, it connects to standard network. It's intelligent, so you can actually put, you wanted to put a SD card on the edge and have it loaded with messages, or you can use the software that's included with the speakers to set up pre-recorded messages. And it's open standard, so just like everything else we do, we try to keep it open so that it works with whatever VMS you might want to use as a, you know, as another edge device. Like I mentioned, pairing it with a camera, then it gives you, you can do, like it says, you in the blue hoodie, I can do a live message if I wanted to, or, you know, maybe you have a pre-programmed message. So just some of the use cases. Perimeter protection is very key. Blocked exit that's kind of cool because I actually worked on one of the first blocked exit ones in this area, and pairing a speaker up with a camera. It was a particular customer that, you know, they get charged pretty heavy fines if they get a fire exit that's blocked. So, you know, by them installing this, it ended up being a really cost-effective installation. You could save them, you know, $50,000 fine or whatever it might be. Then also parking violations. Any question on audio? Now to a topic that we could probably spend 2 or 3 hours on in demos and everything else. So I don't know how many people are aware, but we do have our own VMS, and it's access camera station. It is, we initially built it up for small to medium business. If you'd asked me 5 years ago, I'd said, yeah, it's pretty good for, you know, 10, 20 cameras, something like that. It's a very nice VMS. The thing I like, and, you know, I'll just say, is it's easy to use. It's got a lot of bells and whistles. And from a pricing standpoint, it's not a recurring fee, so it's a single license, one-time type. We do have 2 different types of licenses: core and universal. So core is basically an access camera. Universal might be, you know, maybe you have maybe there's someone that has a bunch of IP cameras, or maybe they have a bunch of analog cameras, but they want to bring them in and still use them until they, you know, until maybe they just die, and they'll replace them with maybe access IP cameras. So we have a universal license that allows you to use another manufacturer's camera on our software. The one thing I always caveat that with is we've got a device compatibility tool on our website. Always check that first. I've had a couple people that didn't, and found out that it was such an old camera from another manufacturer that wouldn't work. So then, of course, we have 30 days free trial. Just real quick, live view, of course, you can set up your views however you want. You want 100 different cameras on a view, and you want each one to have a little bit different size. You control size, content of whatever view you want. Maybe each user wants their own view. You can set all that up. You can bring maps in. And on those maps, you can overlay cameras. And let's say I go up here and touch on this camera, then it'll give me like maybe I just hover over and it gives me just a snippet of that video or that picture. And I can actually click into it and go straight to the camera. So same thing as you'll see here in a few minutes with doors. So also I can throw web pages on here. I can create action buttons. So let's say I'm using an access network intercom at the front door. Somebody comes up, pushes the button. You know, it's coming to me. I'm sitting at my desk. It pops up on my monitor, and I can have a little soft button set there that says open door. So I can not only maybe see who it is, of course, talk to them, but then I can open the door. You know, of course, with the door being integrated with the door strike. Receive notifications, does events. It's got an awesome action rules engine built in, where it's kind of, if this happens, then do this. If motion's detected, email me. If motion's detected, fire this LED light. So it's really a lot of capabilities there. Of course, quick search, you can scrub through video using smart search if I want to draw a box, maybe around a particular area where an incident, maybe the perpetrator may have went through there. And I can take 12 hours of the video and maybe cut it down to 10 or 12 just different snippets of video and then investigate from there. Third-party privacy, so you got privacy mask you can use. It does have a free mobile app, so you can do live view, export, all that kind of good stuff. So recorders and appliances. So what I'll say is we have two different ones. We have an S22, which is more of the appliance. So it's got integrated PoE, as well as it's got licenses built on board, as well as storage. So it's an all-in-one box, more or less. The amount of licenses that are on each particular recorder or appliance is equivalent to the port. So if it's an S2208, which means an 8-port, it'll have 8 licenses on board already included. Then we also have the S11 series, which is Dell OEM servers with, a lot of people want RAID 5, RAID 6, whatever. So that is incorporated into some of the S11s. The S11s do not include integrated PoE on board. The cool thing is, I talked about the 5-year warranty earlier on most all of our products. It goes to, it actually is also incorporated with the recorders. So the S22, which is the appliance all-in-one, 5-year, all the parts and the drives. The servers themselves, it's 5-year on all the parts, 3 years on the drive. That's just because it is a Dell OEM server built to our specs. Secure entry. So we now have introduced, some people want just to have, one throat to choke, so to speak. So we developed an access control solution or a video verification solution that goes along with our VMS. So how you can you can use readers, whether it's our readers or maybe it's an HID reader. You can incorporate readers into our door controllers as well as the software itself. And you can start to, if I'm just going to slide here real quick. So right here, you can see I can manage the access through the card holders. I can create rules. You set up doors and zones. So the one thing I'll say is right now, 10,000 card holders, 5 credentials per card holder. First release really is up to about 128 doors. Single site. So right now, it's single site. It will be multiple sites. Probably the end of this year, first and next. It's a general. I mean, like I said, on this one, it'd be a good one at some point. If anybody wanted to learn more, we could just demo it. So the components, really, when it comes down to it, is the software, recorder, door controller, and any readers. So it's pretty simple. I blew through a lot of information. I actually have a couple new cameras I was going to show you as well. Yeah, anybody have any questions on any of the content? I know that was like fast.
I don't see any in the chat.
Okay.
So if anyone has a question, either drop it in the chat or hop on your mic and feel free to ask.
Well, cool. Well, in the final few minutes we got, I'll show you a couple new cameras. So this is the office that Brett and I report out of. This is our DC office. So looks a little dreary, although we can see a plane going into Reagan. But it's to me, we've got these offices throughout the United States. We've got, I think it's 8 or 10. I love the views here, of course, because we get DC. So like I said, too bad it's not like a really sunny day. It really looks really cool. I'm just going to show you a couple of different cameras here. We talked about the Axis Object Analytics. So this does a pretty good job. This is one of the new cameras with the DLPU in it. However, keep in mind this intersection is 2,200 feet from the camera. So not designed to go 2,000 feet, but from where we're at in our building, this was probably the best place we could actually display it and show it. But you do see, you get, the bus going through, cars. I don't think they have people set up. No, they don't, because there's some people down here. I think maybe bikes and motorcycles will show up as well. But it kind of gives you a feel, just the different capabilities. Like I said, this is a free analytic. So it just comes built on board. You don't have to, use it if you don't want to. But it does give you, it's kind of some cool capabilities. Anybody, if you want to say yes, that's fine. Anybody use any 180 cameras? So multi-sensor cameras have been huge, and I'm sure most people know. The nice thing is with multi-sensor, you get multiple cameras basically in one, and it's got one IP address, one cable pull, and one license in a lot of cases, depending upon the VMS. So the 180s, this camera here, I absolutely love. It's probably a few years old now, but very good selling camera. This is 4 cameras in one. And what it does is it stitches the images together. So it takes the 4 cameras, and you might be able to see, like right here, where you kind of see it a little bit, certain light conditions, which is in some of our newer 180s. It's hard to pick out the lines. But at any rate, you're getting a full 180-degree view, a little bit of curvature, but a stitched image. And this actually is I think it's a 90-degree vertical field of view. So it captures a lot of ground. So think of maybe the side of your building. You're trying to capture a sidewalk below and then a parking lot. This is awesome. I like it. Depending on the detail you're looking for, you could go 7,500 feet. If you're trying to get facial recognition, maybe not that far, but really neat camera for the money. It gives you a lot of capability and covers a lot of ground. Probably our newest 180 is this particular one here. So you notice the vertical field of view is a lot less. It's 38-degree vertical field of view. My network may be struggling. But at any rate, this is this camera here is an 8-megapixel camera. This one here is 14 megapixel. This thing's awesome. And you notice it is 4 cameras. It stitches them together, but with this newer technology, this actually has 2 ARC-X7 chipsets in it. You do not see really much in the way of any delineation of lines. So, but the real proof here is the detail I can get. Now, I think we're 17 stories up. This road here, the edge of that road is probably every bit of, I don't know, 400 or 500 feet, somewhere in that area, if not more. But I can, almost, let's see where we're at on the training profile. I can almost get some pretty good detail on the blades of grass. But very cool camera. Anybody use any fish eyes? Anybody like fish?
Oh, yeah, we love them. They're a unique, I bring them up all the time, but they're, the right application. But that's unbelievable, Larry. That's a great camera right there.
I love that camera. I've demoed it a couple of times, and it shows just as good, man. That thing is awesome. Yeah, we've got another one so this one's going to be replaced by another one that's going to look very similar to this, just more vertical. It'll be 12 megapixels. That'll be coming here soon.
You should sell these to the, we should consider selling them to the news organizations, and they use them for weather bumps, because you got these on these 17-story buildings and stuff. It's not ideal for security, but it's beautiful landscape shots and stuff. You can see what's going on, but
yeah,
I see the news organization using that.
Well, I'll show you a PTZ too. That's phenomenal. We'll go. Of course, fish eyes. I love it because you can dig in, do all that kind of good stuff. But We do have a new two-headed, basically a dual sensor camera that you can maybe capture corners or let's say stairways, one going up, one going down. So you can move them. They're varifocal. This is a 10 megapixel bullet. It is phenomenal. This looks like kind of moisture, a little humid there, but the color pops on this particular bullet here. This one. I like to show this just to show you there's a lot of, you can go out to Costco and buy a 4K system for $600, $700 or whatever. I always like to show this just to show, it's not just about the supposed resolution. There's a lot more to it. This is the Capitol building. Keep in mind, we're 17 stories up. Anybody want to guess how far away that is?
5 miles.
7 miles.
You guys are a little longer than I always think. Most people
3
say
miles.
3.5 miles. But the detail
Jeez.
I can pull in on this thing. All right, second question. What resolution is it? How many megapixels?
1080.
It is 1080p, 2 megapixels. So how do we do it? We are owned by Canon. I don't know if many people knew that. So we have pretty good access to a lot of good lenses out there. In this case, it's a 201 millimeter lens. So, but yeah, as I pull out, you'll see just how far everything is. See the.
You got any footage from January 6th?
It's funny. No, it's not funny, but I went on there, I think right around the 11th to try to see it. And of course, we only keep it for like 4 days. So I couldn't see any of the recordings. Maybe the police may have the recordings. Who knows? I mean, we've had the police come to us a lot to look at stuff. So
That is amazing. Oh my
Yeah.
God, that is amazing.
so yeah, Brett and I, we do demos. Talk to your IPS folks, and we'd love to come out if you want to do like maybe a deeper dive on some of the newer stuff. There's a lot of new stuff I didn't show. But we'd be glad to help you. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. IPS, thanks for the forum, and everyone else, I appreciate you for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
fantastic stuff. Thank you.
Thank you to Larry and Brett for joining us today and kind of walking us through some things. And like they said, and I'm going to follow up with everybody with some additional information that they sent me. And then if you kind of have a chance to review things and want to do a further deeper dive, we can come to you, you can come to us. Just let me or your IPS sales rep know that you're interested. And we will be happy to show you anything and everything. So if there are no questions, that kind of concludes today's presentation.
And we'll say one thing in parting. Someone talked about the cameras on top of the building for like TV news. Wait till the end of the year. We may have a couple surprises.
Really, that's
We'll leave it
cool.
at that.
Stay tuned.
Right.
That's
All right.
good.
Well, thank you. Have a good afternoon, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
Thanks.